program and I pay the $6 to $9 a month, whatever it is, something happens.
Joining us this evening. I will now call to order the City Council successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency Housing Authority regular meeting. It is October 24th. Tonight we have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Boy Scout Troop 321. Would you like to come on up and lead us off?
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may all be seated.
Thank you. Okay, item 3, changes to the order of the agenda. Anything this evening from staff?
No changes this evening, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anything from my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, we will now move to item 4, report from closed session from our city attorney.
Madam Mayor, there's no reportable items from closed session tonight.
Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to presentations. Tonight, I'm going to present proclamations to Anthony Lee, Luke Maxwell, Will Maxwell, and Nick Waka, thank you, from Boy Scout Troop 321 upon receiving their Eagle Scout Award. So we're going to go one by one, and I would like to call up Anthony Lee first.
Okay. Okay.
Anthony, 1 second. I'm going to present your proclamation first.
Oh, okay.
Come on, right over here where the cameras can pick you up for viewers at home. You can stand right over here. Thank you. Welcome. You can just face me. I'm going to read your proclamation, and then you're going to get to give us a little report on what you did for your Eagle Scout Award, okay? And since you're first, I'm going to read your entire proclamation. So bear with me, everyone. So this is a proclamation commending Anthony Lee upon achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas the Boy Scouts of America is an organization of youth preparing themselves to be future citizens and leaders, and whereas the Boy Scouts is committed to fostering the traits of leadership and strength of character among its members, and whereas the Boy Scouts play a vital force in the lives of hundreds of youth in the city of San Carlos who are guided by adult volunteers who have given generously of their time and talents, and whereas for his service project, the final requirement for the rank of Eagle Scout, Anthony Lee utilized his leadership skills to organize and inspire his team while planning and managing the project to completion. And whereas the special and unique honor of achieving the highest award bestowed by the Boy Scouts was earned by Anthony Lee of Troop 321 for beautifying White Oaks Elementary School's garden with benches, which entailed working with several troop members to build the benches out of wood, transporting them to the school, and repairing existing benches. And whereas Anthony Lee's project provides a great benefit to the White Oaks Elementary School students, faculty, and all who visit there. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sarah McDowell, Mayor of the City of San Carlos, hereby congratulate Anthony Lee on the attainment of the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout and commend him for his service and accomplishments as a member of the Boy Scouts of America. So this is for you. Would you like to take a picture? Okay, good job. Okay, please tell us a little bit about your project.
Right, so like she mentioned, it was about building benches for the White Oaks Elementary School, this gazebo area they have somewhere. But so we built about like 6 benches in total, like, yeah, about. We actually replaced one of them, as you can see, because it was broken, and a few of the broken parts, yeah, so we just dispersed them around the area. We also cleaned up the area a bit with trimming all the extra leaves and plants and branches, just to make it look nicer. Yeah, and so in terms of executing the project, so there was some, confusion with the planning at first, but it went pretty smoothly, and yeah, we were able to get it done like about a weekend. Yeah, and the principal was pretty happy with it too, so yeah. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Anthony. Any questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our next award. Luke Maxwell. So Luke, I'm going to read the following, not the entire thing because the Boy Scout stuff is a repeat, but I will read about your project. So whereas for his service project, the final requirement for the rank of Eagle Scout, Luke Maxwell utilized his leadership skills to organize and inspire his team while planning and managing the project to completion. And whereas the special and unique honor of achieving the highest award bestowed by the Boy Scouts was earned by Luke Maxwell of Troop 321 for providing 150 backpacks filled with school supplies for K through 8 students, which entailed raising roughly $2,700, purchasing supplies, and coordinating its distribution at Hoover Elementary School. And whereas Luke Maxwell's project provided students and families with hope and confidence as they started the school year, now therefore be it resolved that I, Sarah McDowell, Mayor of the City of San Carlos, hereby congratulate Luke Maxwell on the attainment of the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout and commend him for his service and accomplishments as a member of the Boy Scouts of America. Congratulations. Would you like to tell us about your project?
So for my project, I raised, as Ms. McDowell said, $2,700 through GoFundMe, and I was able to, with the help of my mom, navigate on Amazon and purchase school supplies as well as backpacks to fill roughly exactly 150 backpacks for the kids at Hoover School. And then on their back to school day, I passed out the backpacks to the different families and different kids of Hoover School. So yeah.
Thank you. I'm sure those kids really appreciated the new backpacks. Thank you for getting them started on a great school year. Any questions from the council on Luke's project?
Just one comment. Luke, you look a lot younger in this picture, and so do I. And the uniform still fits, just in case you want to wonder. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is Will. Welcome, Will Maxwell. Thank you for joining us. So same thing, I'm going to read about your project. So whereas for his service project, the final requirement of the rank of Eagle Scout, Will Maxwell utilized his leadership skills to organize and inspire his team while planning and managing the project to completion. And whereas the special and unique honor of achieving the highest award bestowed by the Boy Scouts was earned by Will Maxwell of Troop 321, created a Serenity Garden at One Life Counseling in San Carlos, which entailed setup of an outdoor rug with 2 chairs, a couch and coffee table, and also setup of an 8-foot flower bed at the front of the center. And whereas Will Maxwell's project creates an inviting, tranquil retreat for One Life Counseling Center visitors and staff to enjoy. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Sarah McDowell, Mayor of the City of San Carlos, hereby congratulate Will Maxwell on the attainment of the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout and commend him for his service and accomplishments as a member of the Boy Scouts of America. Congratulations. Okay, would you like to tell us about your project?
So for my project, I worked with some of my friends, and I raised money through GoFundMe to build, as you can see, or build and plant flower pots at One Life's location on Laurel Street, and then also at the location around the corner on San Carlos Ave. I set up the Serenity Garden with some furniture that I built with my brother, planted some flowers, had a little pot that holds the hose, and it just gives them a space that is welcoming for them to offer services to their clients.
Thank you, Will. Mental health has been something that's been really important to me during my mayorship, so I want to thank you for your time and work at One Life. I've spent a lot of time at that office, and I really appreciate you working to beautify it. Thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, congratulations. Thank you. One final one. Okay, Nick Waka, congratulations. Thank you for joining us this evening. So I will go ahead and read your proclamation. Whereas for his service project, the final requirement for the rank of Eagle Scout, Nick Waka utilized his leadership skills to organize and inspire his team while planning and managing the project to completion. And whereas the special and unique honor of achieving the highest award bestowed by the Boy Scouts was earned by Nick Waka of Troop 321 for beautifying the Carlmont High School library by planting 18 English laurel hedges along the building. And whereas Nick Waka's project not only further enhances Carlmont High School as a clean and attractive learning environment, but also serves as a protective barrier to a potentially dangerous downhill slope. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Sarah McDowell, Mayor of the City of San Carlos, hereby congratulate Nick Waka on the attainment of the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout and commend him for his service and accomplishments as a member of the Boy Scouts of America. Congratulations. Would you like to tell us about your project?
So, like Mrs. McDowell mentioned, me and some volunteers, actually including Anthony, who is here with us tonight, went out to Carlmont High School. And, you know, when I was originally thinking of what I was going to do for this project, I knew I wanted to do it at Carlmont because that's where I go to school. I'm a senior there now. And I talked to one of the vice principals, and he told me about this spot next to the library, which I'd seen multiple times. It used to just be this dirt patch, as you can see in the top. It had kind of an ugly orange fencing around it. And on one of the sides, there's a pretty sheer drop-off of about 4 feet, I might say. And apparently they'd had issues with people tripping on it, which is an issue. So I went out there with some volunteers, and we put in these hedges, which make the place look so much nicer. And once they grow, it's going to be a nice protective barrier. And it was just really great. It was a great time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you to all of you for your service and your contributions to our community, making it a better place. And congratulations on your Eagle Scout Awards. Any comments? Go ahead.
I just want to formally offer my congratulations as an Eagle Scout as well. Welcome to the Eagle's Nest, and congratulations. And keep up the work. Don't forget what you learned, and stay involved in your community. And thank you also to the families, because I know when I got my Eagle Scout, if my parents weren't pushing me sometimes, I don't know that I would have gotten there as well. So it takes a team effort. So congratulations.
Councilmember Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. My congratulations to all of you. There is, yes, one Eagle Scout member of this council. I fell a little bit short. I did make it to Star Scout, though. But anyway, congratulations to all of you, and especially Nick, thank you for beautifying my alma mater. So.
Okay, seeing no further comments, congratulations again. Thanks for joining us tonight. We will now move on to council communications and announcements. Council communications and announcements are brief items from members of the City Council regarding upcoming events in the community and correspondence they have received. I see Vice Mayor Rack.
I just want to report that yesterday I attended the Charter Chili Cook-Off and got to judge some of the chili. It was quite tasty and a lot of fun, and they had a great turnout. It was at Devil's Canyon, and it was a great event.
Okay, thank you. I will report out that I was the pie tester yesterday at the Charter fundraiser, and it was delicious, and I had a great time, and I appreciated all of the support for our public schools. So, okay, I don't see any other hands raised, so we will now move on to public comment. Persons wishing to address the City Council on matters not on the posted agenda may do so at this time. Please note that each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. And we will start, I see we have some folks here joining us in person, so we'll start with in-person comments, and then we'll go to Zoom.
Okay, first up we have Fred Wood.
Good evening, council members. Fred Wood. I live on the east side of San Carlos. Noticed that there's been a lot of reconstruction going on in the area. I'd like to ask that the City Council adopt a ordinance that any building scheduled to be demolished that's over 750 square feet be fumigated before such action be done. The reason being is the rodent infestation throughout our neighborhoods is getting out of control. I rate this based on when I go down to buy rat traps at Home Depot, there's none available. So it's pretty bad. On average, I can catch 3 rats a week, and it eliminates my family's garden. God only knows what's going on up and down the street. So if you guys would consider something like that, I'd deeply appreciate it, and I think it would be good for the whole community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Crystal, next speaker, please.
Yes, next speaker is Cade Miller.
Hello, City Council members. I'm Cade Miller, a sophomore at Sequoia High School, and here's Eli, a junior at Carmont. We have been playing club volleyball for more than 2 years. We both play every weekend with our friends at parks at San Carlos and Belmont. I'm here to represent current and future volleyball players in our community. Did you know that volleyball has more fans globally than basketball? Most volleyball players play indoor, on grass, and on beach courts wherever they can find a game. I'm here to ask for a beach volleyball court in San Carlos. There are no courts in San Carlos or at our local beaches. Popularity and demand has increased recently, according to ESPN. Volleyball has overtaken basketball in popularity for girls, and boys volleyball is growing rapidly. A public beach court and a public volleyball court in San Carlos would be beneficial for the community for several reasons. 1, it would introduce a new sport to San Carlos. 2, a beach volleyball court is a very beginner-friendly sport. 3, a beach volleyball is a very social sport. You can play with 4 people and you can play with 12 people. It also provides community building and an alternative to more screen time. 4, it allows high schoolers to play outside of the short school season and will allow those who can't afford to play on an expensive club team to play volleyball. I think providing this to your community would make San Carlos stand out and would reflect well upon you. I know our parks are in high demand, and if we could squeeze one into one of our parks, it would be terrific. Alternatively, asking a developer to add one to their new campus would be also work if it was available to the public. For those reasons, I believe that a beach volleyball court would be very beneficial and a great addition to San Carlos. Thanks for your considering my request. If there's anything you think my teammates and I could help to make this happen, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Cade. Any other speakers in person tonight, Crystal?
Yes, we do have one more from Michael Stafford.
Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mayor. This kind of falls on the tails of my colleague over here who just talked about volleyball. We have a city who's grown quite a bit. I've been a resident here since 1994. Population, according to the U.S. Census, has grown by a little over 4,000 in that time, which is about a 15% increase. And my particular issue is that I'm a tennis player. I've been with San Carlos Tennis Club for many years. And to that end, what I've seen is the decrease in the number of courts that have been available. At the point by which I moved here, the Aguelo courts were available to the public. That has been taken away because they were found to be on the school property. And so as a result, they're monetizing those, and it's fine. They're using them in a good way. They're using them for lessons. They're using them for USTA. But for the public, there is little to no availability. Pickleball has become very popular, and there's a new need and requirement for the courts, which is also great. Gets people out, gets people exercise, but it also takes space away from tennis. So what we're looking at now is instead of, at the point by which I had originally moved here, 12 courts, we're down now to 6 courts. Wrong direction, especially when we have a population that's growing and a lot of growth coming. So I'd like to implore the council members in the city to be able to start thinking about how they, as the city of good living, are going to be able to continue to keep that moniker up and be able to provide for the citizens. There's plenty of added space and there's plenty of people coming here. Let's try to make it a good city and keep it going in that direction. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stafford.
Thank you. There are no more cards for speakers in the council chambers, but we do have a hand up in Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Sonia Elks, if you can go ahead and unmute. There you go.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I have to chime in. I love the volleyball court idea. I love the having more sports, especially pickup sports for folks available in San Carlos. I think that's a terrific idea. And want to put in another plug for having a pump track, which is a track of rolling curves and a surface for skateboards and scooters and bicycles and people to get to all of our amazing facilities, more on independent, on human-powered vehicles, because they can also visit bump tracks and encourages active, sustainable transportation while we're going to all of our amazing sports venues. So thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you, Sonia. Are there any other hands raised on Zoom?
Nope, there are no more hands.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your public comment, and I appreciate you joining us. Lots of good things for us to keep in mind. We will now move on to the consent calendar. Would any of my colleagues like to pull an item from the consent calendar this evening? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion. It's a lot to read this evening, so.
I move to approve City Council consent calendar items A through D, and item E, adopting ordinance number 1589, settle in everyone, it's a long one. Adopting ordinance number 1589, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Carlos amending the San Carlos Municipal Code, Chapter 15.04, Technical Building Codes, to adopt the 2022 editions of the California Administrative Code, California Building Code Volumes 1 and 2, California Residential Code, California Electrical Code, California Mechanical Code, California Plumbing Code, California Energy Code, California Historical Code, California Existing Building Code, California Green Building Standards Code, California Referenced Standards Code, 1997 Uniform Security Code, the 2021 edition of the International Property Management Code with amendments and modification and safety assessment SAP placards, and Ordinance 1590, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Carlos amending San Carlos Municipal Code Section 15.04, 110-California Fire Code, to adopt the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code and the 2022 California Fire Code, including all adopted standards as specified, prescribing regulations governing conditions hazardous to life and property from fire, hazardous materials, or explosion, and for providing the fire safety inspection process for hazardous uses or operations, and establishing a Bureau of Fire Prevention, San Carlos Fire Ordinance. Period.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Crystal, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rack?
Yes.
And Mayor McDowell?
Yes. Thank you, Councilmember Palmer Lohan, for reading that long ordinance. We will now move on to item 9A, new business, consideration of adopting a resolution approving and appropriating a one-time grant to Cora, Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse. Presenting tonight is Assistant City Manager Niall Blackburn.
Hello, good evening, Mayor McDowell, Vice Mayor Rack, and council members. For this item before you, the council is being asked to consider whether to adopt a resolution that would appropriate a one-time disbursement or grant to Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse, more commonly referred to as CORA, for its Speak Up Community Education Program. If it's approved tonight, the funds would be appropriated from the general fund unassigned fund balance, which has sufficient funding in it currently. By way of background and a reminder, as you recall, at our last council meeting on October 10th, Mayor McDowell presented a proclamation designating October 2022 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. She presented that proclamation to Karen Ferguson, who is a CEO of Cora, and at that time, Ms. Ferguson went ahead and presented a presentation about Cora and all of its services. Toward the end of the meeting that day, in the agenda setting section, I believe it was Mayor McDowell who suggested, with Vice Mayor Rack's support, that we agendize this item that we're looking at today as part of the agenda setting section, and all council members approved that, and that's what brings us here today. For members of the public and that may not have been able to attend last session, here's a little bit of background on Cora's services. It is the only agency in San Mateo County that's dedicated to helping those affected by intimate partner abuse. We learned in Ms. Ferguson's presentation that they get 12,000 requests for help annually. As part of their offerings, they have a 24-hour multilingual hotline. They have an emergency response program, which is a program that partners with all local law enforcement agencies. They have a family-centered mental health services program that provides mental health services both to adults and to children. They offer legal services and advice, and they do a lot of community outreach and education. And a new program that they'd like to develop is the Speak Up pilot program that we will be talking about today. And since the last meeting on October 10th, we received a proposal from Cora describing their Speak Up pilot program and the amount that they were requesting and how they intended to use that amount. And the gist of the Speak Up pilot program in San Carlos would be this. The idea is that there are certain businesses that interface regularly with the general public, including nail salons, hairdressers, hotels, medical and dental clinics, and so on. And by providing targeted outreach and training to folks who work at these businesses and owners, they would be able to recognize the signs of domestic violence and abuse, not only in their employees, but in their customers, and then also teach strategies on how to come forward and maybe provide constructive support or advice to somebody they think might be a victim of domestic violence. And the belief of Cora is that by doing this sort of outreach, it would empower the community to be informed, to be educated, and to eventually reduce violence, if not, hopefully, one day eradicate it. In attachment 3, a more detailed budget was provided by Cora for this one-time funding. And it would include a part-time Speak Up community educator, as well as use part of the time for their manager of education, administrative support, and they would also need equipment and expenses to fund this program. That would be, for the first-time pilot, specifically tailored to the residents and business community of San Carlos. And that concludes the presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Niall. I appreciate your presentation. So yes, just a reminder, we'll do questions, then we'll do public comment, and then we'll do any discussion. So are there questions for Niall? Councilmember Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Niall, for the report. I'm generally supportive of this. I'm just wondering, would we have a representative from Cora that would report back to us and tell us, how the program has been, how it's gone, and, I know that we detail what they'd use it for, but it'd be nice to know, how effective our expenditure has been and whether or not we might want to think about possibly funding it again.
That's a great question. I did send out an email to Dr. Ferguson on Friday asking how they would measure the pilot program's success and how they would make the determination to move on and what moving on would look like. Where would they expand the program to? I haven't heard back, but it's something I think we should definitely follow up with. I think it's always nice to circle back and and close the loop and get a measurement. We can incorporate that into this.
That would be great, because I know this is a major problem, and it's not just a problem here, it's a problem everywhere.
Sure.
And it's hard to get a handle on it. And we certainly don't want the public accusing us of just throwing money at something when we can't measure the results. And obviously, this is an organization that a lot of people believe in. So it would be great if we could find out, how effective it's been. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment. Thank you, Niall. We don't have any members in person. Is there anyone on Zoom?
Yes, we do have one person Zoom. I believe Dr. Karen Ferguson is with us. If you can go ahead and unmute.
I am. Hello. Hi, it's Karen Ferguson, CEO for Cora, and pleased to be able to respond again. So I'm terribly sorry. I must have missed the email for the question regarding the evidence, but very much agree with City Council Collins that we will collect data and work on having a way to provide information about the impact and the breadth of who we're able to reach during this, if we were to be able to do the program. And happy to answer any other questions, but I'm really appreciative of your consideration.
Thank you, Karen. And any other hands raised, Crystal?
No, there are no further hands.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it up to council discussion at this time. Councilmember Dugan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate the mayor and I believe vice mayor's efforts to get this program under consideration and to partner and cycle with Cora on what I believe will be a very impactful program, one I wholeheartedly support and support the funding of. And obviously this is against the context of, a horrific act of domestic violence here in San Carlos. So I think this is very appropriate at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilmember Palmer Lohan.
I'd also like to thank Mayor and Vice Mayor for bringing this item forward, and I'll be voting in support of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Vice Mayor.
Push the button. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for bringing this up with me. I appreciate that. I'll obviously be supporting this, and I look forward to hoping that other communities will follow suit and maybe join in this effort so that we can potentially have larger funding throughout the county to support Cora and the good work they're doing.
Thank you. I will chime in too. I will be supporting this measure. I think, when the Vice Mayor and I were speaking with Dr. Ferguson, I think it's really important when communities want to help that you kind of do a bottom-up approach where you approach the nonprofits that are actually doing the work in our community and ask what would be helpful and what would help them increase their messaging and reaching our community. And so I really appreciated Dr. Ferguson's time and effort bringing forward a proposal. And I'm excited to vote tonight to fund it. I will support it. I learned during our mental health first aid trainings how important it is to raise awareness in our community. Oftentimes people want to help, but they don't know what to do. They don't know the right words to say. So I think that this program will really give our local businesses and our community members the tools in their toolkit to be more aware of domestic violence in our community and also the tools to appropriately respond. So like the Vice Mayor, I'm hoping that other communities in our county will follow our lead. And I'm very proud that San Carlos is taking this action. As Councilmember Dugan mentioned, in the wake of the horrific murder of Karina Castro, I think that this is something that our community can do to recognize the need in our community to build awareness on this important subject. Okay, I don't see any further comments, so did you want to comment or make a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 2022-110. 110, a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Carlos approving and appropriating a one-time grant to Cora Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse of $50,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Crystal, could you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor Rack?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Yes.
And Mayor McDowell?
Yes. Okay, thank you all. We will now move on to item 9B, consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a change in the income classification of 2 below market rate moderate income units located at 1001 Laurel Street, units 225 and 418, with the intent to resell once eligible low income buyers are identified and qualified. And with us tonight is Christian Padilla, Economic Development Coordinator.
Hi, good evening, Mayor McDowell and council members. I'll be presenting tonight on 2 city-owned below market rate units that are currently classified as moderate income units located at 1001 Laurel, unit 225 and 418. For background, earlier this year, the city acquired 2 moderate income units due to the difficulty of finding eligible and interested buyers. The previous owners purchased the moderate income units in 2010 when the units were first built. The below market rate restriction set a household income limit of 120% of area median income, also known as AMI. During the outreach process, we contacted over 400 households on the city's affordable housing wait list and did not find an eligible and interested buyer. By exercising the option to purchase the unit, the city avoided the permanent loss of BMR units from the existing stock of affordable housing units. The other option would have been to allow the previous owners to sell the units at market rate and then splitting the profits at 50% with the city of San Carlos. However, this would remove the units from our affordable housing stock, as mentioned before. Both units 225 and 418 are 1-bedroom units with a monthly HOA fee of approximately $570. Unit 225 was acquired for $493,000, and Unit 418 was acquired for $525,130. The area median income for a household of 3 in San Mateo County is $149,400. And for a household of 3 of low income, the low income is $134,200. For moderate income households, the income limit for a household of 3 is $179,300. I would also like to mention that the moderate income households on our wait list tend to be families with children in need of units that are 2 or 3 bedrooms. We are recommending a change in the income classification of both units to low income. This reclassification would change the affordable purchase price to both units to be $214,953. This means the city would expend $278,047 to reclassify Unit 225 from moderate income to low income, and $310,177 to reclassify Unit 418. Since the city already purchased the units, it would see the return of approximately $418,000 instead of the original $1,018,130 that was originally used to purchase the units from Fund 29, which is one of 2 affordable housing funds for the city of San Carlos. Currently, Fund 29 has a balance of $13.7 million. And with that, I end my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions from the council? Councilmember Dugan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I'm glad we're looking at this. I guess my question is, so we've recently observed as a city that we're not getting enough below market rate rental stock built. That's why we just changed our inclusionary ratio to 20% for condos and left rental at 15%. And I was curious why that wasn't presented as an option to us, or if that was considered, which is putting these units into our rental stock, maintaining ownership as a city and allowing it to become rental, BMR rentals?
It was considered and it was presented to the housing subcommittee, and at that time it was recommended to proceed with for sale, since the makeup of our households on our affordable wait list is only 3% for moderate income, and for very low and extremely low, for very low and low, it makes up over 40% of our housing wait list households.
For ownership?
Overall. And so it doesn't divide between ownership and rental.
No, I understand the classification to low. I'm wondering why not consider converting it to rental?
That could have been an option that we did explore. However, we recommended going with the for sale and the reclassification once we got feedback from the housing subcommittee.
Okay, I guess I don't specifically remember that. So I know one reason to keep it in to keep it as a condo is that as a rental, it doesn't allow the homeowner to build equity over time. And we want to see that in our community. So I just wanted to understand this one a bit better. So we paid this moderate income affordable price of $493 and $525. That's what we paid these homeowners for those?
That's correct.
Okay, and what sort of gain did that represent for those homeowners? Presumably we had different values in 2010 when they first purchased.
That's correct. They purchased the units at approximately $290,000.
Okay. And so they made that as capital gain?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Rack.
Thank you for the presentation. I guess the question I had is, so a couple questions. One, I'm assuming, and just to follow up on Councilmember Dugan's question, to convert 2 units to rental in a building that is ownership I don't know what kind of management or administration that would provide. So I'm just kind of curious in general if that's, problematic to do or it's easy to do. I'm just, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other because there may be things like this moving forward.
City staff would manage the administrative aspects of renting out the unit. We currently do rent out the unit at 1001 Laurel to a BMR household.
So we currently rent it out?
There's multiple units at 1001 Laurel. Currently, we do rent out a unit, not these two units. Yes,
we rent out.
That's correct.
On that, understood. Okay, and then. Okay, and then have we thought about just converting sort of one of the units instead of 2? And because we're looking at a $600,000, $500-something thousand loss on this to our housing funds. Has there been talk of that? I'm not in the housing subcommittee, so I'm just kind of curious what may have happened from a discussion.
Yeah, so we did consider, we could consider doing just one of the units. However, the demand for moderate income rentals is also not as high for the city of San Carlos. So that's why we proceeded with reclassifying to low income to allow those households on our wait list to rent the units.
But you just said we're going to sell the units back, not rent them.
Sorry, sell.
Okay, is there a large demand then for rental units for this?
For low income classification. Overall, for moderate income, both in rental and for sale, there is a low demand in the city of San Carlos.
Okay, so you just said there's a low demand for moderate and low income for sale.
Sorry, let me correct myself.
Yeah.
There is low demand for moderate when it comes to for sale and for rental.
I see, but for low income, there is a higher demand for both sale and rental.
Correct.
Okay, and that's because typically you mentioned about especially in these kind of units that are 1-bedroom units, you typically might have families in a moderate setting and looking for more space.
Yes, that's correct. That's what we saw time after time when showing the units to the different households.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, that seems to be my recollection, is that it didn't make a lot of sense to be holding out these units when you had 2-3 people in a family and not going to live in a one-bedroom place. But along the lines of the demand for low-income renters, are you fairly confident that we'd have some buyers in that category? I mean, are there people saying right now we would buy it? Or?
I am, yes, especially with the price of a low-income unit. The down payment typically is 10% that is required, so it cuts it more than half. So it allows a family, say of two, to be able to easily do that and still be able to cover the mortgage and the HOA fee.
Okay, I don't expect you to know the answer necessarily, but I'm wondering, are there any special programs for down payment assistance for people with low incomes and units like this?
The city did have a program that was a down payment loan assistance program with a low interest, but it stopped a number of years ago, I believe about 6 to 8 years ago. I'm not sure why.
Well, I don't want to get us down the wrong road, but I'm wondering if maybe we might want to have that discussion once again, or if it's, I mean, if it's something that's just way too expensive for us to consider, I'm thinking that we might want to have a chat about that at some point.
As staff, we could look into that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Councilmember Palmer Lohan.
Should council decide to move forward with staff recommendation, I'm just wondering, upon resale of these units, would there be some sort of a covenant or restriction on the sale price of these at a later date? So in other words, if they're sold, again, would there be a requirement that they be sold at a certain price that's below market?
Yeah, so there is a deed restriction for these units, and it would be required to be sold at low income category.
Whatever that happens to be at that time.
Correct. Okay. Yes, based on the area median income.
Great, thank you.
I have a question then. So they would not be gaining as much equity in these properties as other owners in the moderate income range? Because I thought you said when they were sold, in response to John's question, that they had sold quite a bit higher, so that wouldn't happen in this case.
It depends on how much increase there is to the area median income. So from 2010 to 2022, there was quite an increase. So that it would depend on those macro factors.
Right. Okay.
And also the timing, the number of years it's in ownership with that one household.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor.
Sorry, I just want to follow up because I was recalling, and I don't remember if you were in that discussion, but we had maybe about a year ago, there was an owner who wanted to convert their property to condos, and the council, the majority of the council, decided not to do that because they felt it was more important to keep rental stock. But now when we have the opportunity to convert to rental stock, we're not making that same decision. It seems sort of opposite of what we were told earlier when someone wanted to go to condos, and now when we have a chance to go to rental, we're not doing that, making that decision, when we've said there's a lack of rental housing in the city. So I'm having a hard time with that.
Let me jump in here. I don't think we at the staff have a strong opinion one way or another whether or not council wants to sell these units at the low affordable level or rent them at the low affordable level. The issue of the level is what's important here. If you'd rather see us rent these units, we'd be happy to do so. As we said, we already have one rental in this particular building already. However, we also have prior direction from the council that they felt like having for sale affordable units was important to the council so that somebody could build equity that could become a down payment for a bigger home as their needs and families expand. So there are two different competing issues here, and it's really at the pleasure of the city council how you'd like to see these units proceed. We just want to get people living in them.
I'll just follow up. Jeff, thank you for that clarification. I don't, the conversion from moderate to low income, I think that's, I'm 100% agreement. I think that's the right move to make and totally support that. I think where I'm struggling is how to have these units either as rental or ownership properties. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Collins, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Adam, I think I look at it a little bit differently. I know it's probably inconsistent. It's not what we did before, but I think it's important to have a mix. You know, there are opportunities for low-income people to own property. And sometimes when those opportunities present themselves to us to make those available, I think that makes some sense. I realize that it may be inconsistent with what we did before, but while I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to holding them out as rental, you know, if you're struggling and you're low income, according to accounting standards, and you have an opportunity to buy something, I think it makes sense for us to at least make that available to those people. So, you know, if somebody's got differing opinions, I'm happy to hear them. It's just my thoughts.
And Matt, I know we're not in discussion period, so if you're give me a little leeway, I guess one question I have: could we split the difference and do one of each? Would be the other way. So we're sort of gaining rental and we're gaining some housing, some purchase as well.
Okay, I see Councilmember Palmer Lohan with her hand up.
Yeah, I guess, well, I guess mine is more of a discussion, so I can wait until after public comment.
I have one final question for you while you're here. Do we know the number of BMR rentals versus BMR condos that we have available right now in the city?
Currently in use, 137, and in the pipeline, about 56 units.
But are those ownership or rental? What's the split?
I'm sorry, I don't have it tabulated at a split. I could get that calculation. I just need to tabulate between rental and ownership. Okay. So currently, we have 137 in total, rental and ownership.
Okay. Is that something that you can get tonight or no?
Yeah, I could do it within 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll open, we'll go to public comment while you tabulate. Thank you. And then we'll come back to discussion. Crystal, do we have any hands raised on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom. Sorry, Christian.
It looks like we'll have some discussion. Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, I know we've talked a lot conceptually about making sure that our new housing element has an opportunity for people to have a home ownership. And the details of that, I think, are still to be determined. And at the moment, I guess the way that I look at this is if we do have a condo in this particular building that's a rental, and we have an opportunity for two to come on to the market as a potential for sale, that could be, you know, very interesting, and we could look at it as a pilot. And I would expect that when we get the answer back on the tabulation in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, that my guess is what we probably have more inventory of around is rentals. And you know, if we can figure out a way to do it so that people could enjoy homeownership and all that comes with it, that could be really game-changing for the city of San Carlos. So I would just encourage us to lean more in that direction when we have this kind of one-off opportunity, and then as we move towards realizing the housing element in 2023, think more holistically about how that plan would work.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Dugan?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I think we're struggling with this, so I appreciate staff. I guess sounds like they're neutral on the point. I guess maybe that's why we're struggling. You know, our waiting list, our BMR waiting list has always been this kind of amorphous thing, and I'm fine making a decision, frankly, either way tonight on these two units, but I guess I would ask staff, I would like a greater understanding of our waiting list, of our existing stock. You know, we did seem to execute last year with the perception we needed more rental than ownership. we're reacting now because this seems counter to that. I guess I would just like us to analyze that, and actually we should have a firm recommendation when these things come around. We should have a reason why we know they should be rental or that they should be ownership. So that's my commentary. For consistency, it feels like maybe we do want to keep these as rental just because over the past year, we certainly leaned in that direction. I'm assuming there was a good reason for that, but I'm not sure we know that as we sit here tonight.
Thank you.
So the total for rental is 104 out of 137.
104 are rentals.
Correct.
Okay. 33 are ownership. Okay. Well, given that, I would be more inclined to make them ownership units myself. I think this is an opportunity to accumulate generational wealth, as we talked about, and this seems, my gut was telling me that this is a unique opportunity, and so I think that that's where I would be leaning towards tonight. Any further discussion from colleagues? Councilmember Collins?
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said before, these opportunities don't come along very often. And, there's owning a home is a big deal. It's a huge deal for all of us. And particularly in this town, it's really hard for people to buy property. And we have a very small inventory of for sale units. Staff is recommending that we, convert these to below market or low income for sale. So I mean, that's, to me, that's a fairly clear indication. But I just think it makes sense in this particular case. We are working very hard to increase our rental occupancy and availability for low income. But I really think that this is an opportunity that we probably shouldn't let go. So I'd be in support of staff recommendation on this one.
Thank you, Ron. Any other discussion from the council? Councilmember Dugan?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just say, 33, so I support staff recommendation here. I mean, kind of makes me reflect why the heck we just put a much stronger incentive in place for rental over ownership. And I guess, again, I would just say next time we consider an issue like this, I would appreciate having the analysis in front of us of our, what does our wait list look like? What's our existing stock look like? Kind of divvied between the various levels of affordability, just so we can really get our hands on this one. Thanks.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think for me, with at least the data that we have on we have in the city currently on rental versus ownership, I'm comfortable moving forward now with that information with the ownership option.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt Resolution 2022-111. A resolution of the City Council of the City of San Carlos authorizing the city manager to execute a change in the income classification of 2 below market rate BMR moderate income units located at 1001 Laurel Street, units number 225 and 418, with the intent to resell once eligible low income buyers are identified and qualified.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Crystal, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rack?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
And Mayor McDowell?
Yes. Thank you. We will now move on to item 10, public hearing, consideration of introducing an ordinance amending San Carlos Municipal Code Chapter 8.20, explosives, amending its title, adding provisions for regulation, fines, and penalties for possession and use of fireworks, and increasing the penalties for explosives. And with us tonight is City Attorney Greg Rubens.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This item is a council requested item to look at our penalties for use of illegal fireworks. Illegal fireworks are adopted in our in the fire codes that you just adopted earlier this evening. That's where they are prohibited. We have the ability under state law, the Health and Safety Code, to tailor our penalties up to a maximum under the law. So the ordinance provides that a violation would be a misdemeanor, which allows for a penalty of $1,000 per violation and up to 6 months in jail. That's the standard penalty for a misdemeanor violation on a conviction. It doesn't mean that the fine will be $1,000. That's the maximum fine. It doesn't mean someone would go to jail for 6 months. That's the maximum time that someone could be incarcerated. And on conviction, it's up to the judge to decide what those penalties are. It depends on the facts and circumstances of each case. So, and one other element of this is, as I was looking at where to place this in the code, we already had something under explosives in our code at Chapter 8.20. So what we've done is we've added a definition of fireworks, tailoring it to the California Health and Safety Code definitions, provided for the penalties I just mentioned, and then looking at the penalty that was in the code for illegal use of explosives. I realized that because that code was right after the city was incorporated in 1926, it had out-of-date penalties. So I added that as an additional change to bring the penalty up to current standards. It was $300 or 3 months in the county jail, and so the code has changed to the $1,000 and 6 months. So that's the end of my staff report. Available for any questions the council might have.
Thank you, Greg. Questions from the council? I see Councilmember Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Greg, do we have any guidance from other cities in terms of precedents or what their penalties are?
Yeah, we looked at several other cities, and Redwood City primarily, we looked at what they had done since they had recently done it, and we have a contract for fire services with Redwood City, so it seemed like to make it consistent with them, this is what Redwood City has.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Good question. Vice Mayor.
I think my question was Ron's question.
Any other questions that are not Ron's questions? Okay, seeing none. Crystal, any public comment this evening?
Yes, but let me go ahead and pull up this. Oh, that's not what I want. Let's do this one. Okay, we have a hands up on Zoom from Jason Waka. If you can go ahead and unmute.
Yes, thank you. Madam Mayor and council members and Mr. Rubens, my name is Jason Waka, and I'm commenting on this, by the way, with the understanding and the assumption that the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office provides contract police services to the city of San Carlos, and in that capacity, they can enforce our municipal code. I know from regular discussion on community bulletin boards and from personal experience that the detonation of fireworks and similar small explosives is going on almost 12 months per year. And, it's a problem from noise pollution, from scaring people and animals, personal safety, potential fire hazards. So in that regard, first, I just want to say I'm pleased that you're considering an amendment to the code. I support that. But my concern is, just as a policy, no matter how great it is, doesn't work if it's not got implementation. Laws in most cases are not effective without effective enforcement. Since most of these illegal detonations seem to occur between like 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. and they're normally of short duration, I want to understand in what way the council has included in their discussion or consideration of this code amendment, increasing the effectiveness of enforcement of either the current or any future code section.
Thank you. I think, are there other hands raised, or should we, I would like staff clarification to that.
Yeah. Well, I think one element of the question was how is this enforced? And the sheriff, this amendment actually is going to make it so the sheriff can cite to a code section and issue citations and require appearances in court to answer for any alleged violations. And then I think the city manager might have had another comment.
Yeah, in addition to that, in the past, we've used the city attorney's office as well as our code enforcement functions for prosecution on this issue. It's a very difficult issue to enforce because people that are doing this sort of thing tend to do it and run away. So by the time we even get the call, they're gone. But during periods of the year where we know there's a spike, 4th of July, New Year's, that kind of thing, we have given the direction to our police department for increased enforcement and vigilance on this. We had quite a group chasing folks around in the community the last 4th of July. I expect that will continue. It's a very important issue to us, not because of the firework themselves, but because of the public safety threat of fire in our community that has dramatically increased in recent years. And so, we'll continue to put out increased targeted enforcement in the community in hopes of deterring people, and if not deterring them, catching them and citing them, that will hopefully serve as a further deterrent in the future.
And I was not complete in my explanation. If it rises to a level of a misdemeanor violation, the process is the sheriff will issue a citation, but then a report's generated, and then I am able to review that using prosecutorial discretion to see if there's a violation, and then a criminal complaint could be drafted under those circumstances. So it's a pretty serious offense if someone gets charged with a misdemeanor. It's court. Potential for jail time. That means a jury trial is possible. It's not just a simple, I didn't mean to imply that it might just be a traffic ticket. It's actually much more than that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. I think there's going to be more council discussion on this topic of enforcement, but I'd like to try and get through the public comment first.
There are no further hands.
Okay, perfect.
Madam Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Great. Crystal, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rack?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
And Mayor McDowell?
Yes. Okay, thank you. I do see some hands raised. We'll go to Councilmember Palmer Lohan.
Great, thank you. So with respect to the issues that were raised by the public commenter, Jason Wachna, as well as City Manager Maltby, one thing that kind of comes to mind is that with respect to fire risk mitigation that we've conducted in the community, we've done a lot around education. We've also done drills and that type of thing. And I'm just wondering if I'm guessing that the age group of the perpetrators are often on the younger side. And I'm just wondering if there would be an opportunity to work with our local schools with respect to some sort of education program. So should we move forward with this ordinance and all that goes along with it, would there also be an opportunity to try to educate more broadly around the negative impacts associated with engaging with fireworks? Because there's a lot of different aspects to it. So I'm just wondering if we could not just have a punishment, but also have some preventative measures that go along with it to help people understand that a simple action that they're taking that seems like on the surface fun, and when one is that age, the invincibility quotient is rather high, that we try to bring the community along in the discussion with us.
Thank you, good comments. Councilmember Collins and then Vice Mayor Rack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The one question I have is, assuming that we go forward with this, what sort of signage could we put out there? I agree with what Laura said. I mean, education is very important. We ought to do it in the schools and wherever else we can. But I'm wondering how we might advertise to the public, in a very obvious way, other than the little electronic sign we have in front of the adult community center that fireworks are illegal. But I'm wondering how we could have that component of it so that people see, a visual reminder that fireworks are illegal in this town and that there's a fairly stiff penalty for it. I don't know how we do that, but put signs around town or what?
Well, let me answer Councilmember Palmer Lohan's question first. Be happy to talk with the both the Sheriff's Department as well as our Fire Department about their education programs and see if they already focus on that, and if not, if they could incorporate that into the work that they do in the community with community members. In terms of the signage, we can put out our electronic signboards around those times of the year where we see increased fire usage. I think probably primarily maybe to highlight the new fine. We could maybe mention it. I don't think it's probably a large story for a newsletter, but we could probably find a way to fit it in to let the community know that the fines have gone up as a possible deterrent to that. I don't think there's probably a lot of people in the community that need to be informed that fireworks are illegal, so I don't think that that's the primary benefit. But letting them know that, you know, we're on the lookout for that type of illegal activity may serve as somewhat of a deterrent. I know that over the summer months, we were able to make contact with a few people that were setting off fireworks in the Burton Park area, and we did see a decline in the frequency in the area following those contacts. So getting the word out there that we are enforcing and that our enforcement activities have actually increased is probably something that we want to see to help encourage this program moving forward.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Rack.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I guess first I'll follow up on Jeff's comment too. I would think putting something in the newsletter would be good because we've gotten so many complaints. I think it would be good to talk about how we are stepping up enforcement. We are looking at increased penalties. I think for the community to understand that we are taking this seriously and are trying to take steps to address it. And then I know in conversations, because I live near Burton Park and have fireworks going around year round, you know, I've spoken with the chief multiple times, and I know she has lots of tools that she's looking to employ and has in place. So I do think that, you know, they're on it and looking at how to be creative around this, you know, enforcement aspect. And I believe that earlier this year there was an arrest made, I think, in East San Carlos that they did catch people selling illegal fireworks. And so I'm assuming that if this were to pass, those new penalties in that kind of case would apply and would be a severe and more stricter you know, penalty for that. So,
Councilmember Dugan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to say, if we're, you know, wanting to educate our community and reach our teenagers, perhaps a modest spend on a social media announcement around all this next June might be a wise expenditure.
I appreciate that comment. I was going to say the same thing, that we need something on Instagram or something. Oh, we need a TikTok.
We need a TikTok.
Yeah, we can delegate that out
on
to
a Greg
staff.
Rubin's TikTok.
I also, I wanted to thank the Vice Mayor for bringing this forward too. Originally, I think this is, you know, we're fortunate to have the Sheriff's Office and all of their tools, but it was long overdue to update our penalties on the books. So I appreciate us being proactive at this point. So I wanted to thank him for that. And I agree, just the public notification I think is important. If we can maybe put A-frames out in our parks, or we kind of, when we enforce, we remind members of the public about the off-leash dog areas, you know, maybe we could do one with a new one with fireworks and the penalties. Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to introduce ordinance number
1591.
An ordinance of the City of San Carlos amending San Carlos Municipal Code, Chapter 8.20- Explosives, amending its title, adding provisions for regulation, fines, and penalties for possession and use of fireworks, and increasing the penalties for explosives.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Crystal, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Collins?
Yes.
Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rack?
Yes.
And Mayor McDowell?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 11, agenda setting. Items discussed in this agenda setting section will be considered by the council for placing on a future agenda. No action will be taken on these items at this meeting. Any agenda setting items? Councilmember Palmer Lohan?
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to public commenter Fred Wood, the discussion earlier with respect to having something on the books prior to demo around fumigation. I'm just thinking about all the commercial development that is planned, and if there's already an issue that is being observed in the community, I'm just wondering if council would be interested in having staff come back in some, with maybe a report to council or a study session or something along those lines to help us understand where we are with that issue and how we can address it.
I was going to ask that same question, so yes for me.
Councilmember Collins?
Yeah, that's also a yes for me, because I had personal experience with it. Our neighbors didn't tear down a house, but they remodeled it, and they gutted the house and moved out for several months. And within a week of the demolition, we had 4 rats on our property. Now, fortunately, we have a cat that killed all 4 of them, but
Maybe that's the fumigation policy.
But I think it's worth pursuing consideration.
Thank you. I agree. I'm a yes on that one too. So, yes, Vice Mayor?
I just wanted to follow up also on the other comments that were raised about sort of courts and other volleyball. And I would be interested in having staff sort of take a look at things and kind of understand kind of maybe an assessment of what we have. And also, just so as we start thinking about new development on the east side, what opportunities there may be. So I'd love just for staff to kind of look into that.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would definitely support that, Adam. I think, we have a lot of recreational needs in town, and we have some real estate available perhaps in our parks, and we're going to have some community benefit budget with the east side, so I think that would make a lot of sense.
Thank you, John. Councilmember Palmer Lohan.
I'm just lend my support for the effort.
Okay, and I do as well. So two items there for staff. Thank you, everyone. Take care and be well. This meeting is now adjourned.